Hi guys, welcome back to Infinite Possibilities, the podcast where we explore the lives of amazing people, their choices, challenges and opportunities. And today I have a very special guest, Mark.
Hi Karen, good to be here.
Thanks for being here. So Mark, what's your kind of 1 minute intro? What do you do?
Well, it's a bit challenging to pin it down because I do many things at KPMG, but essentially I'm a consultant within the contract assurance performance team, which sits under the broader GRC space. Essentially, the purpose of my team is to maximise the value of our contracts for our clients. So that's by like cost recovery, better management of the contract, specific content of the contract, like clauses that they might want to write into there. More recently, though, as part of the broader restructure of the firm, I've been working a lot across internal audit, GRC, which is risk and controls. So pretty broad, but lots of learning and lots of great work on offer in my space.
Wow, awesome. Sounds like an ad almost.
I might get a sponsorship out of this. Maybe they'll pay me.
Sounds good. So we really want to know how Mark became so cool, right? We're going to go back to the childhood.
Oh, God, that's a long time ago. Can't even remember now.
You're not that old.
Yeah.
So Mark, what kind of kid were you like growing up?
Well, I grew up in Mackay, which is sort of up north in Queensland, about 1,000 kilometres away from Brisbane. It's a lot smaller than Brisbane is, so growing up there is quite different, obviously. We grew up out in the countryside a bit, not really in the city for the first part of my life. So obviously there's a lot, you know a lot fewer people, your social groups are a lot smaller, your hobbies are different to what people are doing in the city. So that was up until I was about grade 3. Growing up in the country I think is a really good thing for people because you learn a different set of skills and you get these practicalities that you can't get when you're living in the city and the suburbs. So I grew up there in the countryside, moved to the suburbs of Mackay in about grade 3. So all the normal things, going to the park, playground, meeting friends down the street, hanging out in the streets, people coming over, all the normal things that kids do. Then that was during primary school. So primary school was pretty uneventful, I'd say. Wasn't
smooth sailing.
Well, it wasn't smooth sailing, but it was just relatively flatline. There wasn't anything interesting happening at that point. Primary school, high school, went to the local high school nearby. Nothing too interesting there either.
Awesome. Smooth life so far.
Very easy.
Yeah, sounds good. I want to go back to the countryside. So, what was it like? And were you like riding horses? Were you living on a farm?
It was a semi-farm. It wasn't horses, sadly. Like we did have a horse pretty close to us. We could go and pat and feed, but we weren't riding the horse. It was an old horse. Yeah. There were cattle there as well, so we could go and interact with the cattle and feed them. That, like, being around animals, I think, is a sort of something that a lot of people want to do, but they never do it if they're living in the city. You might have like a pet, like a cat or a dog or something, but that's a different type of animal to what you'd see on a farm. Driving around on like motorbikes and tractors and cars on the fields and stuff. So it's a very different. Your hobbies and your enjoyments are very different on a farm to what they would be if you're just growing up in the suburbs.
Yeah, and did you prefer that? You're like, I have much cooler hobbies than my peers.
I think so. I mean, people don't really realise that it's a lot of fun being, like on a farm type situation, living out of town where you can do stuff that you wouldn't usually do. I mean, you could do all the same stuff you do in the suburbs anyway on a farm, but you have a whole scope of things that you can do that are in addition to that. So yeah, definitely. And like I said before, you learn a set of skills that you don't get if you're just growing up in the suburbs.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any fun memories? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Well, I mean, like riding motorbikes and driving tractors and driving cars when you're like 8 years old. It's quite fun. I mean, it's probably not a great thing to be saying that you're doing all these illegal things. And they are quite dangerous, to be honest. But I mean, they're fun. I mean, you learn stuff. Like, it's just a whole remit of stuff that you can't get, but you can get it when you're living out of town.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I heard you're the oldest of the siblings, of the North's
I am.
siblings.
Yeah, so I'm the eldest. There's 3 of us. There's me, my sister, and my brother, both younger. My sister's 2 years younger than me. She works in law.
Nice.
She does a law degree at UQ. My brother's still in high school. He's in grade 11 now, so quite far away from us. There's a bit of a gap there in terms of the age, obviously, but also in terms of like our connection is a lot. Yeah. It's not as strong as between my sister and I because he's just so much younger.
Yeah.
And obviously.
You're like a father figure too.
Probably almost. I'm like an uncle or something. I'm like a grandfather probably. But yeah, no, there's a bit of a gap there. But yeah, like my sister works in law, goes to uni still. brother's at high school, works at Woolies, all the
Yeah.
normal stuff. He's still at home. My sister and I are both living out, so
Yeah.
there's a bit of distance there, but how it goes.
Yeah, it's awesome. And were you the responsible older brother growing up, or were you the naughty kid?
No, I think so. I think I was the responsible one. Like, out of the three of us, I think I'm probably the most sort of like, you know, I wouldn't say down to earth, but the most almost boring out of the three of us. Like, you know,
Wow, look
you know,
at you.
yeah. Well, I mean, like, someone's got to do it, right? Like, I think my sister's quite outgoing and extroverted and social compared to me, and
Yeah.
she's involved in a whole bunch of like social things and
Yeah.
volunteering and else. I mean, obviously everyone has to grow up and get a job at some point, but I think out of the two of us, you know, she's the more extroverted one. I'm just more baseline. And my brother's quite different to the both of us. He's sort of, you know, he's not as into school as we were. He sort of works already. He's only 16. He's working at Woolworths, so like his approach to life is quite different to ours. And I guess that's probably in part because he's so distant from us in terms of the age.
Yeah.
So yeah, bit of a difference. Yeah.
That's interesting.
But out of the three of us, I'm probably the most ordinary, boring one, the most flatline one.
Wow, the one the parents love, right? You know, got the job
sure,
and just...
probably. Surely after working at KPMG, they love me.
I love it. Yeah. So tell me more about like your hobbies. So I mean, you're the boring one, but like, what does the boring one do?
Really, hobbies in the last however many years have really been the music thing. So, music started for me playing trumpet in primary school at grade 4. So playing like a brass instrument or anything in an ensemble, like a band or a group, you got to put a lot of effort into it. You're learning formally. You're learning how to read music. You're playing under a conductor. Your part contributes to the overall group. So that was sort of the foundation of music for me. My parents weren't musical people. They aren't musical people. Yeah. They'd never done anything. So the skill doesn't come from them. If that makes sense.
Wow. Maybe your grandparents.
I don't think they were either. I don't think there's any musical people really in the family. But started out way back then in grade 4, and it sort of progressed down to the point where, obviously with work being so busy, it is very much a sideline hobby, but it's still always there. And I'm at the point where I can sort of just do it on an as-wanted basis. So I play guitar and bass now, and that's the focus of the music. The trumpet is still exists. I still have it, but I don't really touch it anymore. I mean, that's basically because it's so much effort to play an instrument like that, and you have to really maintain your skills and you have to be playing in a group, really. With a trumpet, you can't just go out and form a band and ask everyone else to fit around you. You've got to sort of join. So there's not much trumpet happening anymore, but it's guitar and bass. I think I'm in maybe 4 or 5 groups. Not usually at any one time, but across the year. So.
Oh, like groups as in bands?
Bands, yeah, essentially. So like if people, just depend, like I try and schedule my year to be as diverse as possible where I'm doing something separate, something different at different times.
Wow, so every quarter you got a new thing?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, like at the moment I'm doing a musical with UQ, which is UQ Law Review. Mm-hmm. So that's, even though I'm not at uni anymore, but I'm still quite well connected to some of the people who run that. So that's one of them. Playing in a jazz band. Another one, playing in an orchestra as a guest appearance, so that they asked me to help out with that, playing bass for that. And then there's a covers band that is on hiatus at the moment, and then also there was the KPMG Brisbane, which is sort of on the back burner for now. But yeah, essentially, like I treat the guitar and bass as just something that I can do in my spare time when I have it, but it's not necessarily at the moment like a priority in my life for progressing that or making anything serious out of it.
Yeah, but that's kind of good in a way, right?
Yeah.
Your love for it is just pure, right?
Yeah, and I think as you start working, you become so tied up with your work life, and that's a big priority. And so anything else becomes ancillary to that, secondary. So, you know, you've got to just fit it in and get what you want out of it. You don't want to be burning yourself out with a hobby or something, and it's not really adding anything to your life. So, really, the guitar and bass is just something to do on the weekend to fill time and have a gig every now and then, so it works well.
Yeah, that's cool. And have you always loved music from the beginning when you started trumpet in grade 4?
I don't really recall there being all that much music in our household as a child. Like, I mean, a lot of people that are involved in music always say they had music growing up around them, like with either musical parents or parents who were very into music. Don't think that was the case for us. It was just average, you know, like listen to the radio or whatever, but nothing really to drive us to go into music. like trumpet at the time was probably one of the more appealing instruments. I mean, you don't want to have to carry around a tuba or something.
Yeah, I know.
To carry like 100 kilos worth of stuff. So the trumpet made sense, and it was like a relatively lead instrument. It's sort of a famous, everyone knows what a trumpet is.
Yeah.
It was a pretty appealing thing at the time. But yeah, I mean, over time your tastes change and your preferences and your sort of ambitions with what you're doing with music change. So the trumpet's just there in the background.
Nice. Poor trumpet.
Yeah, it's a bit
give it
rusty
some
now.
love.
Probably.
Yeah, and so when did you pick up the bass and the guitar?
The bass and guitar started probably around when I was in year 9, so maybe around 10 or 11 years ago now. Very much as a hobby, just to sort of fill in time after school. There wasn't really any ambition at the time to do anything with it, and obviously, like, there's few reasons why you'd go into it. Like, it's something that's a challenge to learn when you're first getting yourself set up, which makes it interesting. But then also, like, the opportunities of what you can do with a guitar or bass are very different to what you can with the trumpet. Like I was saying, like, you can go and have your own rock band or do covers or write original music. But if you're playing a trumpet, it's a very different setup. But yeah, no. So I started playing. I think I played bass first, but we had an acoustic guitar lying around because my sister was playing guitar as well. So we both sort of picked it up around the same time. But yeah, learnt bass. That's a good place to start if you're wanting to play guitar as well, because you can sort of start from the ground up. Like, the bass guitar or the bass in general is very foundational to other instruments in the group. So you're sort of starting at the bottom line. You can work your way up to other instruments like the guitar or piano if you want. So yeah, I mean, bass first. Sort of learnt enough on that, and then progressed to guitar. The bass was there again. Like, I started playing in grade 9, but probably didn't ever really play in a group until grade 11, probably. So the trumpet was still in the scene at that time. Yeah. This is a long time ago now. It's
That's
like 10
probably
years
what
ago.
you were known for,
yeah,
right?
Probably.
Trumpet Mark.
Yeah, lead trumpet. So the trumpet was still going. This is 10 years ago. The bass was happening in the background, and I think in about grade 11 I switched over to playing bass for the school band.
What a change.
Yeah, very big change. Like, you're going from a lead instrument to just a supporting instrument, essentially, and different clef. You're reading bass clef compared to a treble clef. Then I did that for about a year, and then I went back to trumpet in grade 12. Who wouldn't want to be famous for trumpet?
Yeah.
You've got to capture those gains while you can.
Yeah, those solos, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. I had a few solos, but...
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then for guitar and bass, were you sort of self-taught, or did you, get lessons when you started?
No, so I was... entirely self-taught is a very hard thing to define, because everyone's picking up stuff from elsewhere. But yeah, pretty much self-taught on bass first, which then informed learning the guitar, which is very simple once you've learnt bass. But we had a really good music teacher at our high school called Mr. Denman. He was great. He was he had done a music degree in jazz at one of the cons in Queensland, and then became a music teacher. So he was very knowledgeable and very good at translating his knowledge into learning for other people. So I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you can have a lesson with someone. You can go and spend an hour sitting in a room learning how to play something, or someone can just give you like 30 seconds worth of advice, and that's like just as much learning. So, like, he was very much like that. Like, we turn up to rehearsal and say, well, how about today you try this, or in this particular bit of your bass part, try play it like this, or just something small like that. And you learn a lot from those small things. And really, with something like an instrument, it's about doing it. It's about the practicality. You can learn theory and you can sit there reading a textbook, but unless you're translating that into playing the instrument, it doesn't really mean much. So really, bass and guitar were entirely self-taught, except for little bits of guidance like that. And of course, like YouTube and stuff, but that's not really, that is still self-taught. You're just watching something and you're getting it, you're making yourself learn from that.
Yeah, that's so impressive that you had such strong motivation.
I don't know if I'd have the same motivation now. I don't have time for it anymore. But there again, like, when you're at school, if you're not, everyone's got their own niche that they're fitting into. I think that was mine at the time. You wanted
to be the musician.
Maybe I wanted to be John Mayer or something.
Yeah.
Never happened.
It's not too late.
No, it's not. I might have to quit next week.
Yeah. Sounds
Make
good.
time for it.
You have to put 1 month notice in, so plan it wisely.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it sounds good. And then let's flip back to uni. So at that time, when you were graduating high school,
Mhm.
like what was sort of floating through your mind in terms of careers?
Well-
What did your parents want you to do?
Oh, well, me personally, I don't think I really had much of an idea what to do. I think at the time I felt so comfortable being at school that the idea of going out of school was quite daunting.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought about all different things. I thought about teaching, I thought about doing
Yeah.
engineering. I did a lot of engineering-based subjects at school, like Maths B and C, Chem. So like chemical engineering was sort of one of the pathways at the time. Before that, I'd done not a lot, but a couple of the humanities subjects, like geography and stuff like that. So that would have been like down like maybe an arts path or a law degree or something like that. So really, there was no firm plan of what I wanted to do personally, and I felt so comforted being at school that it wasn't really a priority for me to figure it out on the spot. I think my parents I think my mum certainly was very keen on me being in like professional services, some sort of like, like a business oriented field. So like law or finance or accounting or something, banking, something along those lines is what she wanted, I think. Because I mean, obviously I didn't have the skill and the brain to do med or something like that. So I think she realised that, which was good. But certainly the pushes weren't necessarily like forward or conscious. They were just sort of implicit, like you just get a vibe for what someone's thinking. I think my dad was he's very relaxed about these things. He doesn't want to push you to do anything. He doesn't want to commit you to anything. It's like, it's your life. You can go and do what you want. So really, in terms of knowing what I wanted to do, I had no idea.
Nice.
So I just jumped into it, basically.
So what did you choose to study?
So I did, so I ended up doing commerce and economics at UQ. Probably the biggest driver behind that was the best degree I could get into at the time with my measly OP. So I think a lot of people would probably try and deny that the OP is really driving what they're doing. But for me, it was like, I think I got an OP5. I think commerce at the time was an OP5. That was the best I could get into. Yeah. It's all about maximising what's available to you. So that's what I could get into. There's no way I was going to get into law or medicine or anything. Yeah. And then thinking about chemical engineering, it looked pretty painful. So I don't think I want to do that. But I mean, I had always been relatively well connected and sort of in tune with being in business or finance or something like that. So it made sense,
Yeah, and how was it studying the actual degree? Was it expectation, versus reality?
Well, first year it's a pretty good time for anyone, I'd say. You're meeting a lot of people and you're going to uni a lot, going to campus, and you got a lot of social events and stuff like that. So it was a pretty good time. Made a lot of good friends who I still see regularly now. In terms of what I learnt, did well in some things, did poorly in other things. I don't think it was particularly like life-changing in terms of excitement or feeling as though I was getting like a lot of value out of it. You're just kind of just doing it at a time and you just day to day getting through it. Really. But looking back in hindsight, university was a very good time, especially pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was your uni life like? Were you a big party boy?
No.
Were you still in the music scene at the time?
No. So the music...
Oh.
Yeah, so that's a good point you raised. The music thing, basically, after I graduated high school, just stopped for probably 3 or 4 years when I was at uni. Reasons for that include, you've got to... I'd moved down here by myself, and you don't have your gear with you. Didn't have my guitars, didn't have my amps and all that stuff. So
I mean, trumpet would have been pretty
I just put on the carry-on luggage and I would have had it, but too bad. Yeah, you can't really put a bass guitar on a carry-on luggage though.
Yeah.
Bit too big. But so there was no music really happening in the first few years of my uni. It was just really smashing through the degree and trying to get through that and making that my priority. No, I wasn't going to parties, really, not in the sense that people who were at college would, a couple of social events and a few drinks here and there, go out for a dinner or something, but not wild. So it was relatively low-key, and it was really focused on just doing the degree and studying, making the most of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then when you were about to graduate, what was kind of floating through your mind in terms of careers? Did you have that graduation anxiety?
Well, I think I probably had graduation anxiety in terms of the turning point in my life, more so than what I was doing career-wise. Because the truth is, I had a really good job for UQ Economics as a tutor. I was pretty well established in that role, and I had connectivity to a lot of different lecturers and areas within the faculty, so I was pretty comfortable work-wise. Like if I hadn't got any grad offers, I would have been secure for long enough to find something. So I wasn't really worried about the career, but had anxiety about leaving university. Obviously, that's like 6 or 7 years or something of your life, just stopping. Like after a couple of exams, all of a sudden you're done. So anxiety was about that, but it wasn't. Don't think I was that worried about a career. I was later on, but not before graduation. Yeah.
And why were you so comfortable at school? Like, did you love learning?
I think I did. Yeah, I think I did. I think especially in high school, I did quite well, and I'd say in different parts of when I was at uni, I did quite well. So it's a very comforting factor when you're doing well at what, at anything. It's like
positive reinforcement.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if your task is to go and study something and then you do well, that's a good feeling. It was just you just slip into the routine. It's very easy to run your life based around that. So there was a lot of comfort, but no particular anxiety about graduating or around that time of graduation. But it did come a few months after that.
And then tell me about what triggered the onset.
Well, I graduated in 2021, which was really still off the back of the COVID time. I think the peak of COVID happened when I was in like 4th or 5th year or something. So that was when everyone was getting their internships, and there was nothing that I applied for, I got. Yeah. Which was concerning at the time. But then I realised after a while that I can just do my tutoring stuff and establish myself well there, and I did do that throughout 2021. So I was quite stable in terms of having an income, like in terms of career. It's a different question.
Good income that you
100%. It's very good. I can't believe we're paid that well now.
Yeah.
So up until graduating, like the focus of graduating is that you pass your exams and you get out of university. That was in my mind. Yeah. And then maybe over the Christmas period of that year into January, that's when I started thinking about the career and the work more seriously. Yeah. But that was just literally because like if you've been out of university for 6 weeks and you haven't got a job and you've got nothing lined up, then you start thinking about it. Yeah. But that was all resolved pretty quickly. I was still doing tutoring. I was very busy with that over the entire December, January period. And then saw something come up on Seek one afternoon, applied for it, got the job like within a week, started there very quickly. That was the previous job. Wasn't KPMG. Okay. That was the previous job. That was Angle, but that all happened very quickly. So, I mean, honestly, there's no point agonising over stuff like that. If whatever happens, happens.
Wow, you have such a chill attitude. Like,
oh yeah, I do now, but maybe not at the time. What can you do? Like, if you don't, if you miss out on a few things, or you get rejected from a job offer or something, or you don't pass an exam, just try again. Just do it again. Yeah. Can't do anything else.
Yeah. So was that your only job that you applied for?
No. So it was it's a really interesting thing. So I think I'd applied for KPMG probably in 2020, which was during COVID, and of course not much was happening. Yeah. And of course the hiring processes during that time were quite abstract, to say the best, compared to what they would be now. So I'd applied to KPMG way back. It was there in the background. Then in 2021, I applied again to something. I'd heard about that opportunity through someone who was a friend of a friend, worked here or something like that. So I got an interview out of that. That was for external audit, which is financial audit. Obviously, I didn't do an accounting major at school, so I'm not qualified to work in that area, which is what they told me in the interview. I'm like, oh, damn, what a shame. All I want is a grad job. Yeah. They were like, nah, like, you can't work in it. You've got a finance major, you're not qualified. So I didn't get that. They then referred me to another team, which was in MC at the time. Interviewed for that. Didn't get the job with that one. I think it was because of basically just the skill set. They wanted a very niche skill set, which I didn't have. Like, I had the broader commerce, financial aptitude, but not specific to the types of projects they were working on. So I didn't get that. And then a weird time went by. This is when I was still at university. This is in my final year. Then a weird time went by when I was just applying for stuff here and there, like all sorts of stuff, like banking and stuff. Yeah. Fast forward until like February of 2023 or 2022, last year. Last year, 2022. Yeah, and then when I was at Angle, then I got a phone call randomly from KPMG HR saying that, you know, we'd like to give you an interview for this particular team. We saw that you'd interviewed a couple of times already, and we'd like to hear from you again.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was
awesome.
literally just a random phone, literally at random. Was not expecting it. Had not applied for anything for weeks. Had not contacted KPMG for months.
Was
Got
just
a call.
heartbroken at home.
Yeah. Well, I was at work. I was probably
Oh,
heartbroken
yeah.
there. But got the call, had an interview, then got the offer within a few days. I think it was a very fast turnaround.
Oh, crap.
And then I started in the June period last year, around June.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Don't worry about anything. If you just sit back and do whatever you can, something will happen.
Yeah, I think that gives a lot of hope to people
100%.
that are applying for jobs, and
Yeah.
then they get the, like, you know, can we keep your resume for future opportunities? Maybe
That
it might
is-
come true.
I mean, they probably didn't even look at my resume because it would have been crap. But it's literally just about. People always say it's about people you know, and it's
Yeah.
very much about that. It's like if you're not successful in one team, they might pass you on to another team. They pass you on to another, and then there's a bit of a network going. So really, it's just keep trying. Like you need a foot in the door, sure, but then after that, you know, it becomes a lot easier once you know people and people are working for you to help you out. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so how many teams at Capers did you apply for?
So it was the two formal applications.
Yeah, there's just one for the
that I
internship, right? And one for the grad.
Yeah, well, I think I did one for the internship in 2020, which was COVID times. So just forget about that. Then there were two proper ones, one for external audit, one for something in MC. But this is at the time when you applied to KPMG, you did a drop down, and you just click on things and you apply for something. So two formal applications and two formal rounds of interview, and then for the offer I actually got, that was totally informal. That was just a phone call from HR, and then ultimately interview with the director in Brisbane, and then got the job.
Nice.
So I did my fair share of the psychometrics. Don't worry, all these people out here that are saying I got it easy. I did all that, but yeah, 3 rounds, got the job in the end.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so what's a day in the life for you? I know it varies, as they say, for consultants. But
Yeah, so obviously you rock up and you check your emails, which can take up to an hour sometimes, literally.
Yeah.
Consultants work at all random hours, and sometimes you get little emails there from 1 a.m. in the morning, but not by me usually.
Nice.
So yeah, check the emails, check what you have on that day, and then just start progressing something that you've been working on the day before. A lot of the time for me, especially more recently, I'm across several projects at the same time. So it's whatever takes precedence for that day. Like there's a meeting for something, then you action that first. If there's a report due tomorrow, then you action that first. But it's really like the nature of my team being it's so small. Most of my day and my work is self-managed at the moment. So I know
Quite
which
a lot
one.
of discipline.
It does, and you need to be able to, decide which one you need to work on first. Like that's up to you as the person. But yeah, you learn that as you start working through it. It becomes quite easy. So. But yeah, like my day is emails first, and then you start working on the actual work. So that could be reporting or Excel spreadsheets or testing or
testing.
reading documents. Yeah,
That's interesting.
It's like a bit of an audit term.
Yeah.
Reading documents is a big one. But yeah, ultimately the objective of any of your work is still a report. So it's all linked to reporting and writing stuff. Yeah. And then there's of course meetings and stuff like that, but that's pretty stock standard for anyone.
Yeah, so if you were to sort of split it down in a kind of pie chart, what would that look like? Would it be like, 20% writing reports, 30% meetings, 10% Excel queries, or I don't know?
Okay, so at the moment I'd say 20% testing in Excel, 20% Excel work, which can cover financial testing, which is like all the formula stuff, or just reading stuff and typing into an Excel. Then I'd say probably, what am I verging on? Let's say 50% of the day reporting, writing, words.
Yeah.
And then that's we're up to 70. And then maybe 15% emails and 15 meetings. Yeah. I'm sort of in the spot now where I can deflect meetings that I don't need to be in.
Nice.
So the team is small enough that we communicate constantly anyway, so there's no need to be sitting there formally in a meeting, but
Yeah, that's awesome. So what are the pros and cons of your job? Be as honest as you want.
Well, I'm in a pretty good spot now where the team has shrunk to being just me, a manager and a director in Brisbane. We have a larger presence nationally, and obviously as part of the KPMG restructure, we're now quite connected to other broader teams who have a lot more volume in terms of people than us, and maybe volume of work. But the pros of being in a small team, the pros of like the jobs where I'm working at the moment is that I do have a lot of leadership over my own schedule, and I have a lot, literally, my day is almost entirely controlled by just me. I have a lot of control over the work and the output. Control is different from ownership. As a consultant, you work on something, but you don't own that because it gets escalated through the levels to when it hits the partner, and then it goes out and they own it technically. Yeah. But I get a lot of control over, like I said, my schedule, the actual output that I'm doing. It's my work, and I'm happy that I can do it myself, and I'm not having someone instructing me how to do it. And with that comes a lot of freedom. You can do it your own way. You can, like your day can be spent. You can have different priorities. You can split your day up into different segments. So it's really good in terms of the flexibility of being able to manage my own time and my own work. What are the cons? Is that the other question? Oh, I don't know. There is a lot of politics in consulting, and that can sometimes make it harder to get work that you want to be doing, or makes it hard to work on jobs that you'd like to be a part of. I mean, obviously, part of the appeal of being in the Big Four and doing consulting is that you are working, hopefully, on jobs where you're learning something out of, and that will progress your career and your learning and your own education. But sometimes with the politics, the stakeholders, it can be hard to, say, I want to work on this, because you just get assigned to something else. Yeah. So that's one of the cons. I'd like to be able to be more direct in choosing what work I have, but you can't always do that. Yeah. It just depends.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, kind of a general question. How do you sort of manage stress?
That's a tricky one because it depends on the type of stress and how stressed you are and what you've got going on. So like in terms of just generally, I think it's very important to have a distinct home life from work life. Yeah. So, if you're coming to work at 8:20 in the morning, hopefully you're going home at not much later than 5 on the dot. You really need to separate your work life from your home life. And when you go home, try not to think, it can be hard, but try not to think about work and try and do activities that are home activities. Like if you go home, you can make yourself dinner, have food, watch TV, do your hobbies, go and see friends, stuff like that. Like you really have a distinct separation between work and home life. But also more generally, it's just being organised. Like if you're at work and you have a stressful day, set time, know how long it's going to take you to do something, or just set aside time to work on something, and then you can sort of like do a checklist where it's like, okay, I have a whole bunch of things that I'm stressed about, but if I organise my day, I know what to do, then I'm calm. Yeah. So really it's just about being organised, structured, and having separation between parts of your life.
Yeah, good response. Mm-hmm. Cool. So we're nearly at the end of the podcast. This is where we get into the miscellaneous questions. Okay. Yeah. So the first one I want to ask you is, have you ever dreamt of being a professional musician?
Yeah, I thought about it probably during university. This is one of those things where it's like, it's one of those turning points in your life, or the daunting parts. It's like either you choose a music career and you commit to that, or you choose a professional career and you commit to that. If you go to university, it's pretty likely that you're going to go and choose your professional career. Yeah. And after you've got a $50,000 HEC stat, you don't want to just drop all that stuff and go and play music. And obviously, getting into the music scene is very different from getting a job in a firm. You've got to commit to one or the other. And I think to be honest, it's just easier to commit to a professional job and a career. But I have thought about the music thing. Maybe in the future we can revisit that. Yeah. Maybe in a year's time. Don't know. We'll see.
That's good. Yeah. And so, Mark, what is the meaning of life for you, in your opinion?
Oh, that's a big question. Gee. It depends on the day, but I think it's just you've just got to maximise what you have available to you. You've got to take it as easy as you can. You've got to have as much enjoyment in your life as you can, and be as good of a person as you can to other people. It's like the meaning of life is abstract for anyone, but really if you've got a good job, make the most of your job, do well at it, and you've got great social life and friends and family, got to be a good person to them, make the most of their time, and be a good person to them. But also, like, you want to be having fun. You want to be doing things you want to do, and you want to be getting the most out of your time and effort.
Yeah.
So, maximize.
Sounds good. Says the numbers guy, right?
Yeah.
Sweet. So, if you won the lottery tomorrow, what would you do differently about your life?
How much is the winning?
It's infinite.
Okay.
Never runs out.
Well, I'd still keep working because you need structure in your life. You can't just
agree.
quit because then you become a gambling addict and just do stupid stuff. But no, I would change almost nothing in my life except that I would probably go and buy property. I would go and buy property, but I wouldn't really change that much else. And maybe book a holiday, but I wouldn't just up and leave. My life would stay pretty much the same, except that I'd be a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
Knowing that I've got all that cash sitting there.
Change that postcode.
Yeah. Got a new farm maybe.
Yeah.
Might buy. I mean, I'd still stay in the apartment that I'm living at now until the lease is up. But I'd look to go and buy my own property. Probably buy property for my family if I could afford it, if that's the winnings.
Yeah, of course it
and then maybe after all that's said and done, go and buy a 7 Series BMW. But that's just a dream, isn't it?
Dreams come true.
Yeah, maybe.
Sounds good. And the final question is, what is an ideal day in the life for you? It can be work-related, it can be non-work related.
Oh, man. Well, they're two, like I said, there's a distinction between the work life and the home life. An ideal work day is coming in and checking your emails and not having too much to action ad hoc, but then also having enough work to keep you busy throughout the day and having the type of work that you feel productive and that you've achieved something by doing it. Might have a nice lunch with a couple of mates in the office or something and hopefully have a steady but not stressful day. In terms of an ideal day on the outside or outside of work on the weekend, have a bit of a sleep in, be able to take your time getting ready in the morning. You don't want to rush if you're not having to be committed to anywhere. Go and have like a nice treat at the bakery or go and have brekkie at a cafe or something. Then all sorts of other things, which at the moment for me is doing music during the day. And then at night you might go and have a nice dinner with your mates and go out for drinks or something like that. And then just to unwind essentially from the week that was of work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sounds good. Hope you get to do it this weekend,
I
maybe.
Totally will. 100% I will. Don't worry.
Sounds good. So we're at the end of the podcast. Yeah, I hope it was a fun experience for you.
That was great. That was very insightful.
You're good. You're natural.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm
not nervous at all, huh?
No. Well, not now. You're very calming. So.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, cool. You want to say bye?
Bye.